Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to some FaceIt League action. Of course, I'm Hunter Dane, joined by Dextron once again. And hey, Dex, you know what? We've had quite the entertaining week so far with our doubleheader over on Tuesday, but now we just got one game tonight. Dhill Dragons, Midori, both teams currently 3-2, fighting for that spot to be 4-2. Which in that situation would solidify them for this week to be within that top three, top four area. So definitely an important game in terms of trying to stay on top of the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. Both these teams, like you said, 3-2 at the moment, fall between that 2 and 10th place spot here in the NA Masters here. So a lot of teams here, all kind of around the same record, which is kind of what you expect here in the Masters here.
Yeah.
I mean, Midori was a team we were talking about a lot towards the end of last week. They were one of the only undefeated teams left. Them and Regen were the last two undefeated teams. Well, ever since then, Hunter, last Thursday, Midori's dropped their last two games. They're looking to bounce
Mm.
back here and bounce back strong. Dhill Dragons, though, is a very, very tough team to go up against. I mean, they're part of that Dhill Ducks org. It seems like no matter what level of Overwatch esports it is, the Dhill Ducks org always finds really, really good and talented players in the Dhill Dragons. Even though they've lost a couple games here and there, they are still a very, very strong team.
Yeah, 100%. And it's worth noting that there is not a team left within the NA Master Division who is perfect. Every team has lost at least once. There is no dominant super team at this point that seems super standout at this moment. It feels like it can go a lot of different ways. But obviously, what we want out of these squads is to have as good of a start as you can possibly have in the situation. So first map, gonna be important to set the pace because we have seen a lot of the bans. I mean, typically what you would expect, they're relatively safe bans, but I mean, we've seen opportunities where it felt like a ban that you had in map 1, you really wish you could have had for that map 4, map 5 situation.
Yeah, but that's the case in a lot of situations here, especially with bans. You want to make safe bans map one, but at the same time, you want to make sure they're smart enough that you'll find yourself with a little bit of a competitive edge here. And surprisingly, Hunter, the last two series I've casted, I've had the same bans map one, Orisa and Sombra, which is very
Ooh.
interesting here. We will be going to Oasis for our first map of the night. Not necessarily a big surprise. NA normally seems to love playing this map here first overall. And now we're just waiting for the bans here. Looks like Midori will be getting first pick of bans. So they have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
options here. It's going to be really interesting to see what they choose to do.
Yeah, definitely going to be it's I wouldn't even call it a delicate situation. Again, you kind of had to just go with the vibe of what you are good at or what you don't want to have to run into right out the gate. And by the looks of it, it's actually Dhill Dragons that is voting first and foremost to decide to be banned
Oh,
in
my
this
bad.
situation. It is you had a 50-50 shot. It's all good at the end of the day. Uh, but still waiting to see what happens. Only about 12 seconds left to make that selection. We've seen safe picks, something like the Orisa, like the Juno. Those end up kind of being some of the early picks that we've seen from late because for some reason Orisa has really been popping back into that meta. And what do you know? One of them right there, Juno, going right out the gate.
Again, this is a very safe first ban here. Like you just said, we've been seeing Juno first. If they're not in map one, they're probably being banned out map two. And I would
Mm-hmm.
expect to see a tank be banned out next here, whether it be someone like the Sombra, or my bad, like the Orisa, wow,
Mm-hmm.
or potentially even a Hazard. I feel like right now you're seeing these tanks that have a lot of durability, a lot of sustainability get banned out in the first couple maps just so that the teams are a little bit more even across the board. But again, you
Mm.
ban out one of those tanks that has some sustainability, you're just leaving the door open for that other one to kind of come in and cause a lot of problems for your team.
Yeah, you really are in a situation like that. So I think it is better to be kind of safe in a scenario like this right here because obviously you're able to have info on teams to a pretty sizable degree. The fact that all the codes are very much publicly available. So if you want to watch a team and all the maps that they have played so far within the season, obviously barring updates and codes going extinct, you have the viability to do so. And obviously we just had the patch this last Tuesday where codes got wiped away. So the only ones that do exist would be the ones that happened that Tuesday night. But either way, it's only rare to see as lineups getting finalized right now. We'll figure out what that second ban is here momentarily. I don't imagine the 10 that we see and currently are really going to swap up in the situation right here. But at least in terms of, I think this is our first time seeing Dhill Dragons as it looks like we are potentially having people swap around, but we'll wait till we have the finalization to kind of talk about these selections.
Yeah, I mean, I casted Dill Dragons last week, last Thursday in their game against, I believe it was actually Shikigami. I might be
Mm.
wrong about that, but I mean, they played a really close series with them, ended up coming out on top of it, but they're looking to bounce back in this game after dropping their last series against Dreamland on Tuesday. So
Mm.
both these teams looking to kind of bounce back here, and like you said, swaps coming in and out here. Not necessarily something you see a lot with Map One, but doesn't necessarily surprise me to be seeing it either.
Yeah, it's honestly not a surprise in the slightest in the situation right here. So I'm curious how it's realistically going to go down in a situation like this. Again, we're gonna know like a ton more once we actually get into this map. Once we see what the comps are really going to be here, because Oasis is one of those maps that follows the archetype that we have on a lot of control maps where it feels like different points have different levels of viability. Obviously, you go to university, something like that Arisa, like that Ramatra is more likely to come out, but you go to something like City Center, that's something where things like the ball, like the hazard, like the Winston kind of make stronger appearances as well. So I think we'll be able to see flexibility from both these squads pretty early on here, but obviously, Dex, it is up to the fate of control, because we might not even get to a university and be able to see these teams really flex those brawl compositions right out the gate.
Yeah, and that's what kind of makes just this game mode in general a little bit fun, is because you can see so much flexibility. However, I've been seeing a lot here recently where teams will kind of stick with that tank they play in map one, even or point one on point two, even if it doesn't necessarily work out for them. And a lot of times they'll only swap off once they kind of lose a team fight or two and decide like, hey, we need to go make the swap over to the tank. That makes a little bit more sense on this second point. But rosters are finalized here. Looks like the only big swap coming out here for Dill Dragons was Eevee coming out and Dreepy, I believe, coming in. And on the other side, I don't think Midori made necessarily any swaps of what we saw from their starting lineup, at least on the FaceIt side. So, I mean, this could be really, really, really interesting here. I mean, you have Dreepy coming in here for Eevee, who we know Eevee is a pretty solid player. So there must be a reason for it. And we're going to see what these teams want to come out with here, as we will be starting off on University.
Hey, well, we will see it pretty early out the gate here. Love to see it. So, like I said, the tanks we primarily have been seeing have been the Arisa and the Ramatra. There's been a little mix of that Queen in there as well, occasionally something like the Mauga. But I think we'll figure out pretty early on what the comfortability is, and hey, both of them going to be running the Arisa. At least that's what we seem to be seeing out the gate here. Obviously, nothing is fully in place until we get out of there right now, but right now we are seeing, for the moment, Dreepy potentially starting on the Cassidy, which honestly wouldn't surprise me a whole lot.
It really wouldn't. And just to give everyone a quick idea of what the second ban was, we were talking about potentially seeing a tank be the second ban. It actually wasn't a tank at all. And I mean, it's really interesting when I'm going to tell you what the ban was here. It was Soldier. Not Soldier. Soldier 76 was our second ban of this map. So very interesting bans coming out here right now, but it looks like Midori wants to get control of that high ground, and Dill Dragons, they're perfectly fine giving that up to them here. They want to play on this low ground for the most part. Cave on this Freya is going to be a little bit interesting, though, because you have, like you said, Drippy on the Cassie. You just don't have that same damage output, but you still have the same threat to find picks.
Yeah, 100% right here, but Triplet unfortunately gets taken out pretty early by Drippy in this situation, so it's going to be a little rough to really pull back here. So already you're simply going to see Midori kind of just pull back, take the reset, so Dill Dragons going to take a relatively easy first fight here.
Yeah, I mean, everything fell apart right there because Dreepy was able to find out Triplet early on. Triplet is basically going to be what gets Hero from point A to point B the majority of the time here. And then, I mean, Cave falling, the fight was already over. That's just a nice kind of stagger pick right there. However, you look at Dill Dragons already going up here. Dreepy, 65% to a Deadeye. Not going to be something this fight that they really have to watch out for, but just getting that ready for next fight will be a great zoning tool for them.
And it really will be right now. A little bit of pressure onto the point by Zach right here. Cause everybody to kind of back out, go to that back left area that they're kind of sitting at. But right now, you see for the moment, they are starting to split around a little bit, which is really only going to be able to play within Midori's hands right here, as the flip is going to come through again for free right here, as Cassandra Rush can be thrown back this time. Hiro gets taken down, but the rush is very much still working in their favor for the time being. But Dex, that sustainability without that Kiriko is so difficult.
And the pulse bomb coming out there from Zach. I mean, you would probably have loved to keep that Kitsune Rush there if you were Hypno, but I mean, you cannot predict that you're going to die immediately after it right there. Just great play by Midori to kind of take control of the point back and honestly control of the map here. I mean, Pulse Bomb also coming out there from Zach, getting rid of Ronin. That's huge. I mean, you look at the ultimates right here for the Orisa's Hero and Cave. That is a combo you've been seeing a lot here recently. So watch out for it to come out here. Just try to find a lot of value because the bolo shot on its own, not as strong as it really was when the Freya first came out. And that's probably for good reasons.
Yeah, and you see they go for the combination. Ronin straight up eats the bolo. The combination finds absolutely nothing right here. Recall has to come through, so Zach's in a bit of a rough scenario. Bodies are forced around. They're not going to get a free flip off of this, but they're definitely going to be bringing the pressure through as bodies don't stay on. Beat going to be activated, so mega aggression to get things going right here. Hoping to find something right now is Ronin, but the Terror Surge is not finding a whole lot. It's nearly 60% already going to be on the board, but we're going to see Zach being taken down, and with that, Ronin and the rest of this Dhill Dragon squad could be hoping to move in as, for the time being, they're still managing to hang around.
Yeah, but I think once this point flips over here, you see Hero running away, Triplets get tried to escape here, but they do have Nadakato and How's Your Day kind of pressuring them out here. Eventually, Triplet will fall there to the Genji for Dhill Dragons, but that's exactly what the Dragons need there, just kind of get back in this map. I think everything up until that moment was really going Midori's way here, so a great team fight win there, and now you're in a really good spot. You have two ultimates of your own, another Kitsune Rush from Hypno, but the Nadakato Blade, that could be something that wins a team fight on its own. I don't think you have to invest both ultimates into this fight here if you're Dragons. Maybe just one to think or to try to force out something from the other side that they don't necessarily have just yet.
Yeah, that is kind of the situation right now. Ults are definitely coming up online for both squads right now. Specifically, Hero really needs to try to get the Terror Surge online as double Kitsune Rush to get things going. Nadakato is going to be able to have this blade ready, but it's not really going to be necessary by the looks of it right now. Lose out on Hero. Everyone else to shortly fall after that, and now 83% and counting right now as Zach is the lone person that can have a reliable touch, but they are searching.
And, I mean, you can see right now, Dhill Dragons are kind of looking for Zach. They know Zach's probably back towards their spawn, so they're just trying to keep a little bit of pressure over there. But you should see Midori come back in. And they have some ultimates here. The Terror Surge from Hero should make a little bit of difference. And if Zach can find a pick with the Pulse Bomb, it opens up a lot here.
Yeah, but Blade has been activated right now, but going into nearly nothingness right now. So forced around Seaboard. It's a big fall, but Hero manages to get 3 at the end of the day. But it's still going back and forth for the time being. Ronin, though, is eventually going to get forced back. It's a 2v2 situation, trying to hunt them down. We'll find the last shot needed as Hero able to come up clutch to keep things going. And now, next fight should decide the winner of the first round.
Yeah, it should here. And what a play by Hero. I didn't think their Terror Surge was necessarily going to find enough of value there to really help their team out, but hey, you find 2 picks with it, immediately find a third right after. That's more value than what I could have asked for there, and probably what Hero was looking for with it. They get the point flip, and like you said, final fight coming up here. They have Bolo, they have Pulse Bomb not far away from Beat. I mean, you're now banking on Ronin to find the same exact value with their Terror Surge that Hero just did.
Yeah, Bullshot comes out. Cabe not really finding anything with it, unfortunately, right now. So the closest they are to an ult is going to be that Beat right now, which would be massive for them to get. So Triplet has to play as safe as possible right now. Going to see the cleanse being used right now. Eventually has to use that kind of to stay alive. Triplet, though, unfortunately gets caught out. So the Beat is not going to be viable for this fight. And now Kitsune Rush being activated right now. Seaborn doesn't quite have it on yet. This is looking potentially dangerous for Midori right now, who has to keep throwing bodies on there, but unfortunately, Dex, it is just not going to happen. A little victory beat as first round will eventually go to the Dhill Dragons.
Triplet can be able to stall out the point here for a moment, but it's not necessarily going to do a lot there. Dhill Dragons winning a close first point here. But I just think it was the fact that they came into that last engagement and they really did focus out the Lucio on the other side. They really did focus out Triplet. That was a good call on them. Probably expecting that Triplet was very, very close to that Beat. So focus them out, and they really focused Hero out in that same moment. The Beat just not able to come online, and they just played smart there. But this is what we expect from the series. These two teams, both really good teams to start the season, have had a little bit of a slump here recently. If you're Midori dropping your last 2 series, and if you're a Dhill Dragon dropping your last series, I mean, you're looking to bounce back. I believe both of them were lost in 5, so kind of heartbreaking when you look at it that way. But I mean, right now, Dreepy swapping over to the Freya, that's the big difference. And Ronin and Hero going over to the Hazard. This is kind of what we expected to see on this point, and probably on the next point if we do go to a point 3 as well. But other than that, no big swaps from either side here.
Yeah, you see the immediate pressure from Ronin as well, trying to rally for the high ground. But so far, looks like Midori going to be able to hold on to it in that first attempt right here. Is Ronin going to be more than happy to keep going up and waiting for an opportunity to find the slash, but Again, Midori just doing a good idea, just kind of hold up on this high ground. How's your day? Apparently not that good right now, as they're going to lose the Lucio super early on. Should cause that first fight to be down the drain right now, as Ronin and the rest of the squad likely going to try to escape with their lives here. With that block, might be able to, as looks like at least Ronin should be able to get out, as everyone's just going to hang around, regroup, as Midori going to start with the point.
Yeah, this could be a really, really quick engage here, especially if you're Dhill Dragons. You want to take a fast one here, but you want to be calling out the right target. I don't think Hero's who you want to be going after. You want to be going after someone like Seaborn or Cave, who's kind of just hanging around that high point or high ground in the middle of the point here. But, I mean, everyone on Dhill Dragons kind of split up at the moment.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it feels right now, as Day again going to get taken out early right here. So Midori having a much better start in this situation right here. Hypno gone. Ronin going to try to escape with their life once more. This time not going to be as lucky, though, as going to get the full wipe this time around. 30% already on the board, and a bolo shot and a pulse bomb and a beat already going to be online.
Yeah, and one big thing here, Dhill Dragons made a decent amount of swaps here. I only said there wasn't a lot, but you also had Nanakava getting off the Genji going over to the Tracer here. The perks for the other side are making a little bit of a difference here. You really, if you're Dhill Dragons, need to win a team fight here. Just get those perks to get yourself going at the moment. But like you said, Ultimate's online here. I would not be surprised if we see the Bolo or the Pulse Bomb come out here very early on.
Yep. Recall is here for Zach right now. Does have an opportunity to potentially use it, but kind of has to play safe for the scenario. As Hypno going to go in with that continued rush right here. Zach is in mega deep, trying to get over to the mega health pack. Going to have to hit the recall instead, as they're waiting for opportunity to get that pulse bomb. There's a lot going on in the background right now, as pulse bomb will eventually come out. But unfortunately, the cleanse is going to be there, ready to go, as B going to be expended as well. Dreepy eventually going to be taken out. It looks like once again they're going to fall over. Now 80% accounting. Final fight territory. Midori having one heck of a second round.
Yeah, I mean, the first point was very close, very back and forth. This point, it's a little bit of a one-sided affair. Each team invested 3 ultimates in that last engagement, though. However, if you are Dhill Dragons, you might have a slight advantage here, having a beat and having a downpour of your own. But you might need to invest that beat early just to get a touch.
Yeah, and now things are becoming super desperate. I mean, the beat comes out. It's the last thing they really have at their expenditure. Unfortunately, it's not going to mean a whole lot at the end of the day. It's a 5v3 situation right now, and Cabe is just finishing off one after another. Nanakava does manage to find one. Unfortunately, it is not going to result in a whole lot, as they're going to be able to step over. It's just, again, it's not going to mean anything. So, third round seems all but inevitable at this point. They're doing a really good job of stalling out the point here, but the name of the game is finding elimination, something they, unfortunately, will not find.
It's something they really struggled to do. I mean, up until that final pick there, Dhill Dragons only got one pick that entire round, and it came there just as overtime was starting to tick down or just start ticking. I mean, that was almost a perfect round there for Midori. I believe you lost Zach, and that's the only thing that you could necessarily talk bad about Midori there. Dhill Dragons, there's a decent amount you could talk bad about. And like I said, I think a lot of it came to the fact that half their team or 3 members of the team made swaps over to just new heroes, so they had to build up those perks. But I mean, at the same time, you should build them up pretty quickly. However, I was looking after the second team fight, and I believe only one of those 3 players were actually able to build up to that first perk. And right now, though, like I kind of expected, no big swaps coming out here. Nanakava going back over to the Genji. I think that's the better move for them. The Tracer just didn't really end up working out for them, and I feel like the Genji gives them a little bit more survivability with the deflect.
Yeah, I definitely think it does as well. Genji has seen a fair amount of playtime as well, still relatively strong, has that ability to counter out, as well as Dreepy gonna get taken out early on. Midori has found a lot of momentum since we got out of that first round, and now without, having your Freya sitting by, this is a really difficult fight to be able to win right now. It's got to start with Ronin finding somebody on this assassination, but right now everyone playing safe, as they're going to have to back out and take the regroup instead.
And this is really not a point where you can back out. I mean, the team is split. How's your day is going to fall there. Hypno and Ronin, not necessarily in the good spots, but Dreepy going to be able to find one, might be able to turn it here a little bit.
Yeah, seeing to be potentially going that way. Triplet, unfortunately, though, is going to manage to find Hypno, as Ronin just going to have to escape right now. Hero going up and down right now, trying to cause a lot of chaos. With Ronin going down, that should realistically solidify this point being stayed capped in, as Dreepy going to have to eventually back out. But still, I mean, if they were quick enough, this is very winnable.
It's not really when you look at it here. You have still 4 members of Midori on point, and the rest of Dhill Dragons are finally getting back here right now. Ultimates Online, though, should be coming up here pretty soon. If you are Dhill Dragons, you have a little bit of a better opportunity here with that Bolo and the Kitsune Rush here. But the Kitsuners really haven't been finding the value, and Bolos are kind of just not as strong as they were in the past. I mean, they just aren't finding anything.
Yeah, really not. And again, sitting at 50% already. You've already lost one as Nadakato is not going to get out alive here. And going to do, I mean, done. Why not? At the end of the day, Seaborn has to take the reset. And at the end of the day, I mean, this is kind of awkward, though, because you're in a 3v3 situation right here. Hajide is, again, in a really rough situation, but Dreepy does manage to come out the other side of the 1v1 right here, so if there was ever an opportunity to come back, it is right here, right now, and realistically should be able to cap without any further issue.
Right. We have Hero and Seaborn coming back. They're going to try to stall it out as long as they can. They probably look at this as they understand that this is a losing point here and a fight. But, I mean, if you could have found one, you had the majority of your team coming back, you probably would have looked for a little bit of a quick engagement. Now you just have to wait. However, ultimates galore here for both teams. Midori was the only one that actually invested any ultimates into that last engagement. So if you're Dhill Dragons, you're in a very, very good spot here just to go through your ultimates smartly and be able to win a couple fights.
Yep, pour down comes through, catches directly on the Hero. Beat can have to be expended just to keep them going right now. Bolo shot, beat from the other side of things. A lot of ults being expended on this fight, and now the only thing left is going to be Nadakato with this blade up around the corner right here, but Ronan has already gone down. Pulling the blade could be a risk right here. It could be something you really want for the next fight right here, and you can see they're constantly debating, but it looks like at the end of the day, they're not going to pull the trigger. They're going to simply try to get more damage, take the reset. Going to be about 39% right here as got to make something happen with the blade that fight.
Yeah, and the blade's going to need to come up huge here. However, no ultimates on either side, but one thing that's going to be very hard for Nadakato to find with this blade this time around is just a target. Everyone on this team is very mobile, so once you use that dash, you're basically just kind of swiping at air here. But if you're Dhill Dragons, an early pick is exactly what you need here, and you're really looking for Dreepy to try to find, you know, that two-shot combo.
Yep, and so our cleanse going to keep things going for now. Unfortunately, they separate beautifully right here as Hero still in a rough scenario. Unfortunately, not finding any eliminations in that situation right there. So Nadakato needs to try to follow up right now, but a nice TP coming in there from Seaborn with the cleanse to keep everybody going for the time being as unfortunately things becoming a little bit desperate at this point right now. Do manage to get rid of K, but you're trading out your Genji right here. Seaborn trying their darndest to kind of hang around right now as Dex, we're still trading back and forth at the end of the day right now, but I mean, it's so complicated. For some reason, this fight should have been over already. Somehow, it's not, but it looks like finally we might see the Midori pulling the trigger as they will eventually do so, but that was way more scrappy at the end. I mean,
it was scrappy, and I mean, Dhill Dragons tried all they could to really try to get back in that point there, but I just felt like it was a little bit of an uphill battle that they just were not necessarily well equipped for there. I mean, this first point was really back and forth, and I thought we would be seeing it on every other point from here on out, but Midori, I mean, they turned around on that second point, especially when we started playing the hazard, and you just didn't find the same value from the hazard on the side of Dhill Dragons. That was the biggest thing there. I mean, Dhill Dragons, they kind of struggled when the hazard came out, and you also saw a whole lot of other swaps come out there from them as well. I mean, the Tracer on second point, the Freya on second point, which did carry over into third point, and slowly started to find some value there as the map went on, but it was just not enough there. Midori, they played that map almost perfectly, in my opinion. I mean, lost the first point, again, very closely, and it just came down to a couple ultimates on that first point, but then they only had one person die on the second point, which is something incredible to say. You don't see it that often. And then they played smart fights there on that final point.
Yeah, it was extremely smart the way that they played it in that situation right here. Never really like overused the ultimates either. They were relatively smart with them, and a lot of times kind of just ended up matching, especially when it came to those support ultimates. You know, like something like the Kitsune Rush would come out, they would wait a couple of seconds, back out, and then use their own. And at that point, it's really hard to contest. They would save the beat almost religiously for the counter beat as well. So I'm excited to see if that keeps up right here, but we're probably going to be changing gears pretty significantly because while we started on Control, we're heading over here to Escort, specifically Circuit Royale, which a map that is very much known for poke, and one of the tanks that's been taken out here, Ramatra the First Band, definitely a character that can play poke right here and can be a good like counter to the Sigma, so I think this is a relatively fine choice.
Yeah, it's a great choice here. The second ban looks like it's really Juno out here as well, so Juno can no longer be banned at all this series. So again, not necessarily a big surprise, but that does bring in some of those kind of off meta or some of those off support heroes that you don't necessarily see a lot on this map in particular.
Hmm.
Could see something like a Zenyatta, the Iari come out. Ana is
Hmm.
still very much there if you want to play back a little bit. I mean, you still could see Kiri, you still could see Lucio. Brig comes back into play here. I mean, there's a lot of good opportunity, a lot of good options here for just support lines. But like you said, Ramattra being banned out first, not necessarily a big surprise. Ramattra, I feel
Hmm.
like, really does find a lot of value on this map. First point with being poke, and then second point going to third point being a little bit more brawly. It just works out perfectly for them here. So you ban out that, you ban out the Juno. I mean, these are two really good bans in my opinion here, but I mean, I'm gonna be surprised here if we don't see any subs come in for either of these sides, especially Dill Dragons. But I think we're not going to be seeing any subs here. They locked in their rosters. It looks like we're seeing the exact same things we saw on map 1.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily surprise me in the situation right here. I think both teams are performing pretty well overall. Definitely have their slumps, but this is a scenario where you're kind of used to the core five that you play. You're just going to kind of roll with it and see what happens, as we're just waiting for one person from Midori to get here to get things going. But we do know Midori is going to be starting out on the attack to get things going right here. And we have seen, a lot of people start out on that Widow, at least for the initial shots. I'm curious whether or not that's going to stay, because obviously things like the Sojourn, like the Freya, very much still available in the situation right here. And it feels like, even in a land where it feels like Widow could be the best pick, sometimes it's really hard to stray away from that Freya, even after the multiple nerfs that she just got hit with.
Yeah, but this is the one map in particular, especially with the first point, how long sightline to start off, that I feel like Widow does find a little bit more value, especially if you're able to click heads and find those picks. But I mean, I'm looking at the stats from last map here, and Midori started to really pull away probably on that second play. But other than that, they were very, very close, which is the biggest surprise. But I'm, again, though, not necessarily surprised considering how close that first point was played. But coming out of the gate, looks like Freya is going to be the answer here, or the option for both teams. Yeah, if you're Cabe on the side of Midori, you still have some time. Actually, no, Zach is going to be at least teasing us with the Widow here. The Diva, though, would be very, very interesting. I feel like this is more of a tease, because I feel like it's just a little bit better to play the Sigma here. I just don't think Diva, especially going into a Sigma on the other side, would necessarily be the best. But hey, like I said, with this map in particular, you see some different support lines coming out here. Iari Bap on the side of Dill Dragons, and Ana Brig on the side of Midori. That's normally known as a dive support line, but it's becoming a lot stronger here on poke as well. However, Seaborn and Zach making swaps here, so no more Ana Brig.
Yeah, I don't really blame them for making the swap. Everything, at the end of the day, Ana Brig, it's strong, but it's strong best with and against dive for a very good reason right here. It's already a lot of pressure being given. Immortality Field used pretty much instantly right there from Seaborn, as it's taken out just like that. But you're already seeing kind of sacrificing this initial error right now, is Midori more than happy to kind of stay aggressive in the situation and just keep pushing them back.
Yeah, but this point right here is a lot like the Valley in Watch Point. You see a lot of teams just give it up because it's a long walk back to it, and if the defending team can win the fight, it becomes very, very difficult for the offensive team to come back in. And Dreepy, this is a play you really need to step up here for Dill Dragons. Finding the first pick, especially on the hero, is huge.
Yeah, it really is in the situation right here. Pressure being brought in right now as you're trying to just really just stay alive in this situation. If you are running, seems to be working all right for the time being in a 4v4 scenario. Looks like eventually the numbers game will stay on top, as they'll be able to defend through the first fight.
And yeah, I mean, that's a great first fight there for Dill Dragons, bouncing back from what was kind of a lackluster final 2 points on Oasis here. But right now, I mean, you do have How's Your Day coming back from spawn. That turret's not, that healing pylon's not going to be there at the moment, so Lavig's going to go to Hypno. However, with Midori kind of playing slow here, I mean, it's going to allow How's Your Day to get completely set back up here. And Ultimate's coming online here. Seaborn and Hypno going to have their matrices. I would not be surprised if you see them basically dueling each other out, trying to make sure that no one really finds any value with them.
Yeah, Matrix going to be used first and foremost by Seaborn. Hypno going to use that a little late afterwards right here, sitting super low. Flux going to be used right now. Mortality Field goes in. Oh my goodness, that is the worst possible way that could have ended right here. And it looks like that should solidify first point pretty early on right here. Zach does get hit with the double shot. Unfortunately, not going to take them down right here. So, hey, going to be another good start here for Midori. 4.5 minutes on the clock here as the rest of Dill Dragons just has to try to escape with their lives.
Not a Nanakata not going to be able to escape here, as you do see Midori just start to get really aggressively here, which is what I'd like to see. Zach, though, will eventually fall, so that should send Midori back here. But, I mean, just the one slight mistake there of popping that Flux in the open, especially with that amateur on the other side, is really going to come back to bite the Dhill Dragons here, especially when you look at what Midori's coming up to here. Their own rally, their own Flux, which is coming out right now.
Yeah, trying to find something right now, gets stunned out of it eventually right now. Okay, be able to find something with the bolo shot, so it's a 4v4 situation right now, but Hero literally just has the break heals right now. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be enough to be able to sustain right here, so this fight will inevitably be theirs, as you kind of see hiding around right now is Triplet down in here. Unfortunately, if they decide to pincer them, I mean, they're screwed, and that double bolo shot is just going to do it, as Triplet likely to not escape.
Yeah, they're not going to escape right there, but they will find Hypno, which is actually a very, very big pick. I mean, if once Triplet and Cave come back out here, they play a little bit aggressively and fast. Hypno will not be back in time for a true engagement. However, ultimates on the side of Dhill Dragon should really help him out if that is the case here. But the rally on another Ant Matrix coming up here for Midori might be able to help him out. Bolo shot, though, landing on the Triplet, not going to be able to kill them. I just think in that kind of situation, you really need to hold a bolo shot for when there's an actual team fight going on.
Yeah, I 100% agree in that situation right here. Rally going to be used pretty early on right here. Dreepy has been taken out with Captive Sun. Going to catch on to Triplet. That is pretty significant right there. Takes the rally out. We're going to see the aggression as they're going to go in with their Ant Matrix as well, forcing Hero and the rest of the Midori squad back right here. Force them to take the raise here is Nanakata, at the moment, the only ultimate on their side.
Yeah, but I mean, they can play it slow here. They're not far away from another Flux. I mean, you still have the Amateur on the other side, and you find Nanakata out, so now there's no ultimates right now for Dhill Dragons. Midori, they should be jumping on this.
They should be right now. Ronin, though, does have a Flux ready to go here. It's not necessarily over quite yet as Seaborn gonna go in mega aggressive. They really want to try to solidify this one right here. As Hypno is caught just outside the Immortality field, as that will solidify right then and there. How's your day? Gonna be the last person to die onto the point, so gonna be about 3.5 minutes on the clock. Definitely a pretty substantial time bank here, but at the end of the day, Midori keeping pretty good pace thus far.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job. I mean, we have seen Dhill Dragon slow them down here a little bit, but it really, truly hasn't been enough. They've won a team fight here and there, but I mean, that was you got beat by just an Ant Matrix, which, yeah, is still very strong on its own, but that is something that you should be able to kite out. Just really good placement there by Seaborn to find so much value. And I mean, right now, if you're Dhill Dragons, this needs to be a team fight you win. Ooh. Nice uses of the Flux there.
Yeah, Nanakata coming online here a little bit. 2K with the thanks of that. Get the 3K as well. All right, coming online. You love to see it. So 3K on the board, reset. So once again, a scenario where Dhill Dragons win out the first fight, but they need consistency from here on out.
Yeah, the double ult usage there by Dhill Dragons, while some might say maybe it was a little bit too much, hey, it found everything you were looking for and more there. 3K with the Flux, or 3K with the Overclock. A lot of that damage came from the Flux as well, and you just need to win a team fight there, kind of slow everything down. You're still actually looking very good in the ultimate economy here. Bolo shot coming out, actually going to find value this time.
Yeah, I was surprised there for a moment that it did, but that fight is nice and taken care of. Another 30 seconds off the board right here. Not going to find any late eliminations, but is where things get scary, Dex, because this entire time, Midori has kind of been building up ultimates here and are pretty far ahead in them now.
They have a pretty good bank of them. 4 good ultimates coming up here. The Flux and the Blade is a combo I would expect to see. Potentially even the Flux and the Bolo. That's something that really no one on the other side can really cancel out, but there comes the Flux. It misses!
Oh, that's a worst case scenario right there. You're getting some progress. You managed to force out the 1-for-1 ult trade right here. Well, 2-for-1 more as Zach also used the Blade and didn't really find anything. In fact, it's going to go down as Triplet's going to be chasing down Ronin. Going to go in, and looks like that rally is going to work out at the end of the day. Triplet and the rest of the Midori squad should be able to clean up house, get this running once more. But, hey, bright side for Dhill Dragons, you took off a ton of time on that initial hold.
You took up a lot of time, but I felt like they just got a little bit too aggressive there, both Ronin and Nanakata. I mean, just getting stunned out by that Break Bash really did end up hurting them there. I mean, if it was only Ronin, yeah, they probably would have fell, but Nanakata could have been able to escape and potentially, you know, kept this cart maybe from going as far as it has here. You only have the Captain Sun, which could be big, but you're walking into pretty good ultimates on the other side, especially Seaborn and their Ambitions. Those have been pretty good all map long.
Yeah, how's your day? Did hit a good Captive Sun earlier right here, hoping for the same exact thing. Is going to catch onto one. Needs to find enough damage to make them blow up. How's your day? Helps get rid of 2. Unfortunately, I think at the end of the day, things have been solidified. You lost too many, unfortunately, so literally 1 minute on the clock available here from Midori. You just love to finish the map at all when you're on an escort map, but having a minute on it, gotta be a bit happier with that. As Midori, they definitely got stopped at some points, but when they took momentum in a fight, they just keep pushing it and pushing it until they get to that objective.
Yeah, I mean, Midori did a really good job there. I mean, just looking at the stats from that first round, again, pretty even, which is what I really expect to see across the maps here. But Cabe, they were making a big difference on the Freya. Again, we always expect to see the Freya players just find so much damage. 5,700, 14 eliminations, most in the lobby. Actually tie with Dreepy on the other side, who I believe was actually playing the Freya for them, right?
I believe so in the situation.
So.
Yeah, because, yeah, Dreepy and Cabe are running them. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, the two Freyas were playing very good there, but it just seemed like Cabe was finding a little bit more value with it. Seaborn as well on that BAP. I mean, the BAPs were very good there, but 11 picks, 11 eliminations, 11 assists. I mean, and 2 deaths. That's the big thing right there for Seaborn, who played an excellent round 1 there for their side. And I talked about there, the Amixes always seem to find so much value for them compared to the Amixes we saw from the other side, which most of the time, yeah, they were able to help maybe push back Midori at points, but they never necessarily won team fights here. But going into the second round, like you said, Dhill Dragons, they just need to complete the map, which isn't the hardest thing to do. However, Midori at times, like you said, when they have momentum, it is very hard to get it away from them. And that is one thing that Dhill Dragons really struggled at just doing, just getting that momentum away from them the moment they had it.
Yeah, so curious to see how it goes down this time around now that they're on the attack. We have the double Genji currently brought up. Both players shown to be familiar with the character already throughout the series. So curious to see how it's going to go down from here. We're not worrying about things like the Widowmaker, like the Sojourns quite yet. But Double Freya very much still on the agenda. As you can kind of see already, Midori more than willing to try to hold on to this area, take a little bit of aggression right here as Immortality Field's used on both sides, but eventually going to be forced to back up as most teams, inevitably get pushed back.
Yeah, and right now, how's you guys taking on this Yari? I don't hate the pick, but right now, when you're comparing it to what Triplet's doing on the Brig, I feel like Triplet's just finding a lot more value here. So you have to really start wondering how much longer we could see this Yari. But Dreepy again, starting off hot here, finding Cabe. That's exactly who you want to get rid of early.
Yeah, right here, almost halfway to a bullet shot right now. But Hero is getting up closer and closer to that Flux early on right here as Triplet going to get traded out. But Seaborn still helping hang around right here. But Hero going down pretty much solidifies that's over. Ronin finishing off Zach right here, but with these deaths right now, I think a retouch is very doable.
It is very doable, but right now, if Dhill Dragons keep 3 members on the cart, it would be very difficult for Midori to say, hey, we can throw bodies at it. But, I mean, with just going into 2 here, you're going to see one last retouch, and Dhill Dragons, they probably should start backing up here, unless they really think they can get this. But Amage coming out here from Hypno, this is actually a really good spot for it.
It really is right now, but Hero is about to have this Flux ready to go. Is going to throw it right now. Going to try to find, unfortunately, no Accretion ready to go, as it's going to get the Immortality Field out. It's going to get bodies low. Bolo shot being used. So many, and Cabe going to get onto 2 at the end of the day, so it's going to work out beautifully. Going to have the late death onto Narakato. So at the end of the day, love it, but now you use the investment there, so now you're just going to have a rally into a Bolo, a Captive Sun, a Blade, a Flux.
I mean, yeah, a great Bolo there for Cabe, probably finding the most value we've seen out of one all series long, probably all week long for me here. But right now, you're walking into a lot on the other side, and you're putting a lot of pressure here on Triplet to try to cancel out one of them here with the rally shield bash. However, Dhill Dragons, like we've been saying, 4 ultimates, a really good spot, and they're starting out with the Sun.
Yeah, and Sun is there. It's going to go down, catching on to multiple bodies right now, hoping to have some of them blown up. Triplet eventually, with that extra explosive damage, will be taken care of. Zach forced into a really uncomfortable situation as they're going to be forced back further and further, but this is the opportunity for Dhill Dragons to move forward, get some momentum back on their side right here, and with the disadvantage right here, with Hero eventually being burnt down, looks like they'll eventually be able to do so, sitting at about 3:45 on the clock going into this one. Still very significant, still have the Blade, and actually it's going to be on both sides, this Blade.
Yeah, but you do have Hypno coming up to their Amix just here a little bit quicker, so that could be something that really opens up a lot of opportunities. And again, I love when teams get aggressive here on the second point. Uphill kind of push, you really want to try to even the playing field very early on. But right now, I'm watching Hypno. Once they get that Amix ready to go, they should immediately pop it here at this corner and force Midori into spots they don't really want to be, allowing Nanakato to find so much value with that Blade.
Yeah, speaking of Blade right here, Zach gonna pull the trigger. First and foremost, gonna go all in on getting rid of Ronin. It's gonna work out beautifully as Hypno eventually gonna blow up. Gonna be a quick, easy fight here for Midori to take care of right now. But bright side, no investment from the Dhill Dragons.
Yeah, no investment for the Dhill Dragons, but it doesn't necessarily do much for them here. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at the other side, Midori still has Ebolo. They still have the Ant Majors, and they're not that far away from a Flux. I mean, they're in a very good spot here, and you see it in their play at the moment. They're playing aggressively, which is something you don't normally see teams do here a lot unless they know they have good opportunities. Dueling Amps, though.
Yeah, you're gonna see right now, Flux gonna get used right here. Rough scenario, Natakata literally at 1 health, unfortunately taken down. Eventually gonna get the trade out onto Seaborn, which is pretty significant considering how far away that spawn is. So if you can get a quick regroup here, get your 5th back, you should be able to push on this pretty effectively.
And you're starting to see Midori back up here. Understand that he don't have all 5, so like you said, back up. And if you're Dhill Dragons, you need to go fast here at the moment. However, you only have the Bolo. You're coming up to 3 ultimates here at the moment. Bolo coming out from Cave. Get him behind How's Your Day before it even goes off.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. That's honestly kind of worst case scenario right here. You're going to have the double connect, so Derpy and K both going down. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, again, that's going to be Dhill Dragons having to back out, take another reset, and now only 2 minutes on the clock here. Things looking a little testy right now. Is Rowan's going to invest a Flux?
Yeah, this seems questionable, but hey, they find Hero on it, so maybe that's exactly what they're looking for here. They clean up the rest of Midori there, though at the moment to really get it going. Triplet trying to run away, but Ronan will be able to find them. This might have actually been the play they were looking for here. It allows the rest of their team to get set up on this aggressive kind of style.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is going to open up the door for them right here. They're going to have the Bolo shot. They're going to have the Captive Sun as well. 2 ultimates that if you get people in a nice little group, it's really hard to deal with right here. But Triplet might have to be the hero for the squad, having the only ultimate at the moment. Zacto about to have this blade as well. Triplet gonna go in right now. Captain Sun has been used right now. Not gonna find a whole lot. In fact, How's Your Day gonna get taken out, and that fight is pretty much done and dusted right there as they use both the Bolo shot and the Captain Sun to try to take that.
And it got countered out by a mere rally. I mean, Triplet's been playing excellent on this break, and like I said, at a certain point, How's Your Day might have had to make the swap, and it seems like that point is now. It might be a little bit too late here for them, that's the problem. 45 seconds left to go. However, rallies are going to be pretty even here at the moment. You look at what Midori has, they're in a much better spot. Flux, Amp, Blade, and Bolo not far away from them or already ready, while you look at Dhill Dragons, they are banking on a lot here from Hypno's Ant Matrix. You need to be able to find 2 or 3 with that on its own.
Yep, you just don't want to have to use too much in this scenario right now as they're just getting burnt away. You're going to see almost everything get burnt into right now, but with 20 seconds on the clock, you can't blame them, but someone's going to have to play swap for a touch.
And Midori, they're feeling themselves here at the moment. Touching spawn doors here with 10 seconds to go. Dreamy coming back out on the Widow, expecting kind of aggressively push, but they're going to find Triplet. Or is there going to be a touch coming out here from the Dhill Dragons?
Yeah, it's literally just going to have to be Ronan who's going to make it. Unfortunately, there's a numbers game that is right around the corner from them. No one is there to help Ronan. Gonna get burnt away. Dreamy can run as fast as they want to right now, but they will not make it, so it's going to be a 2-0 already for Midori, putting themselves on match point. I mean, these teams sometimes fight pretty even in these fights, but it feels like, again, we have seen the trend throughout the last couple weeks. Well, the team that is more aggressive and capitalizes is coming out on the better side of these fights way more often than not.
Yeah, and the KB in the play of the game here. Again, this is probably the most value I've seen out of Bolo. Maybe in the entirety of Freya coming out here ever since probably the couple of days after launch. Cave has done an excellent job on Freya throughout the series so far. We did see Dreepy really pick up there at the start of both rounds, but as the rounds went on, it was Cave was kind of picking up right where they left off from their play on Oasis. And I mean, right now, as I look at the stats here, I mean, Cave 32 eliminations. I mean, you look at just the eliminations combined for Midori on that DPS line, 61 there for them. And on the other side, 39. I mean, the DPS lines have been doing a lot here, but Midori's have just been doing so much. And I mean, I talked about there a little bit with the differences that we saw in the support lines. While the Iari is really fun to see here, especially on Circle Royale being one of her stronger maps, the Brig was just such a difference maker there for Midori. Triplet did an incredible job. I mean, you saw it there. Dhill Dragons close to capping that second point, had an ultimate advantage, used Bolo and Captain Sun, and it was basically countered out by a rally there. That was a huge turning point in that map, and it really left Dhill Dragons staring down the barrel of no ultimates with a minute to go, and they just weren't ever able to recover.
Yeah, just unfortunately not. They made the swaps. Unfortunately, it was just too late into the game to really make them here, but I guess finding the silver linings in the situation right here. Going to be going over to Kings Row. You're going to be able to go for the first ban in the situation right here, to which they're going to get rid of Orisa in the situation right here. It's not necessarily a bad selection, but it feels like you had a lot of threats coming your way, especially with that Freya. I know it's a double-edged sword banning the Freya, because obviously you have to stop your own Freya, who's been playing pretty well at that point too, as I mean, we're already solidified. We'll find out what that second ban is here in a second, but Orisa, it's not a bad choice at the end of the day.
No, it's not a bad choice, and honestly, it's probably a really smart choice for this map in particular. I mean, a lot of sustainability. This is the kind of playstyle that Orisa really thrives on. First point, though, maybe not the best, but as you get into street phase, just Orisa being such a big body is someone that really does make it difficult to kind of push through. Kiriko is going to be our second ban of this map out here. So Midori focusing on the support line here the last two maps, which is, I think, really smart, honestly. I mean, they've been trying just to win the games through the support lines, and so far they've been doing a pretty good job of that. However, if you're Dhill Dragons, I mean, I would not have minded seeing the Freya ban come out. We did see, I believe it was Dreepy play the Cassidy on that first point of Oasis. And remember, that was the point they won. That was the most success they had when Dreepy was playing the Cassidy. However, not the same type of map where Cassidy finds a lot more value. Yeah, still does find a decent amount of value here on Kings Row, but University, Cassidy is very, very scary there.
Yeah, I can definitely be in a situation like that. Honestly, Cassidy can be kind of difficult to deal with in a lot of situations. You kind of see it being used as kind of like a counter to some of these characters like Tracer, and I think even occasionally I see that it is used as a counter to even Freya in certain situations. But either way, I am curious to see how it's going to go down here. I think Dhill Dragons have definitely had their high points. I think they have definitely fought back hard. Again, it's just this extra step of aggression from Midori that we are seeing, that we have seen from them before, and we've seen it aid them in taking away a win previously right here, and they're just replicating that and keep pushing it forward. So Dhill Dragon in this situation, you have to come away with a really good attack here. I think it's even reasonable enough to say that you need to focus on finishing the map here if you want to give yourselves a really good shot at being able to take away a map and get some level of momentum within the series.
Absolutely. And like we said coming in this series, both these teams lost their last series, but Midori, they've dropped their last two after starting off 3-0, being one of the only two teams that was left undefeated at a certain point here. Right now, they're looking like they're playing like they are still one of those undefeated teams and trying to remind everyone who they are here. And like you said, a win here tonight for either of these teams probably does put them up into the top 5-6 teams in the tier, or in the tier to really end up our third week of play, which is exactly what they're looking for. They want to be one of these competitive teams. Same thing for Dhill Dragons. And like you said, they need to complete this map in their attacking round, because if they don't, it's not impossible to see them win it on the defensive side, but you really want to make sure you have as much insurance as you possibly can here. But heading in now to what could be our final map of the night. I mean, Dhill Dragons, they need to show us something here early. They really do need to start off kind of fast, in my opinion. You cannot afford to drop maybe the first 2 minutes on this attack to just try to build up ultimate so you have an ult fight.
Yeah, I 100% agree in the situation right here. If they were to come out, well, we'll find out, obviously. But we do know, defensive side right here for Midori, this is very much locked in. The Hazard coming out here as well, Juno. First time not being banned, and we see her immediately. Nothing too shocking about that right here. Pretty happy to see potentially Dreepy going over, potentially coming out on the Widow to start. We saw it before. Unfortunately, no one really sticking with it longer than about 10 seconds. So I'm curious to see if this is just another one shot and get out and swap. But at that point, I imagine they just go back and, match the Freya. Winton!
They're teasing us with a couple of heroes here. I mean, they went from Junker Queen to Doomfist now to the Hazard of their own here. And yeah, Dreepy just doing the one-shot wonder right there. Not going to be able to find anything with it here. Again, you need to start fast here, but I love Hypno actually coming out on the Ana. If they could land the anti-heal or the anti-nade on the hero, it's going to be something that really opens up a lot of opportunities for Dhill Dragons.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they're making it kind of chaotic right now. Midori is sticking together, but they're kind of getting corralled into the hotel right now. They're going to speed out. They're trying to find one particular person, and their name is Hypno, and eventually they're going to find them, but is a trade-out at the end of the day. Cave, though, has found a second, but bright side is you managed to find the first tick right here. You're going to lose Dreepy, which is going to pretty much take any opportunity of taking this one away right here. But if you can get out with both these lives intact, Ronan, how's your day? You could get a quick group. Unfortunately, Ronan goes down.
Yeah, but getting that first tick is very important there. You did get it within the first minute, and I mean, you should be able to come back in here pretty quickly. No ultimates are really ready for either side. I mean, even the Freya's both built up to around 50%, so normally a lot of times you could see Freya built up to a little bit more there, so that kind of tells you that they're struggling to get started here. But right now, you really need Dreepy to land a shot here onto Hero, or maybe a little bit better, onto Zach. Get them very low here early on, and find that diveable target for Ronan.
Yeah. Ronan is definitely waiting for an opportunity right here. Hero is going to go, and Hero wants to find Hypno every single time. You see the advancement coming through right now. Triplet being forced into a really awkward area as Hero goes down first of all people right here. The trade's coming through. How's your day? Managed to get rid of 2 before ultimately being taken down. So now, door opens up wide here for Dhill Dragons right now, who needs to just throw 3 bodies on the point and pray they can just cap it.
I mean, they should get a second tick here guaranteed, and look at this Hero swapping off the Hazard going over to D, but they are definitely trying to stall out this point here a little bit. Cave does have the bolo ready to go, but what kind of value is it gonna find here? Hero back there to get the touch though.
Yeah, bolo shot gonna be used. It's gonna come out, gonna connect. Not really gonna find anybody though in the situation as Cave, same scenario, but Dreepy is gonna be given the nano here to try to finish things around right now. Needs to try to burn away Cave. Eventually gonna go down 97% and potentially counting here. It's not gonna take a whole lot more. It's Hero needs to get burnt away to try to end this thing out right here. Dreepy sitting super low, eventually going to get taken out as Zach still very much hanging around, trying to keep things active, but Dex at the end of the day, it looks extremely unlikely.
Yeah, no, they're going to have to give up this first point here, and now they're going to have to give up the Arch's hold as well. I don't blame them for trying to play aggressively there. If you could have found one more pick, potentially, if you were Midori, you would have been able to kind of flip that fight on its head and potentially even came back and won that point and stalled them out even a little bit longer. But hey, fight lasted long enough here that you're going to have pretty good ultimates. The Blade, the Orbital Ray, and the Rally. Those are 3 strong ultimates. However, same thing could be said for the side of Dhill Dragons, who has the downpour, the beat, and the Blade of their own. So I'm going to take a guess here. We're going to see dueling blades with at least one of those support ultimates coming out here.
Yeah, 100% right here as Natakata, not in the most luxurious situation, as eventually going to grab the Mega, going to get sliced through, and that fight is over. No ultimates needed. Everybody else from Dhill Dragons simply going to get out with their lives intact right here. Unfortunately, kind of just getting caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, one of the reasons I don't like to go to bars at night is because, I mean, you get easily beaten up, and that's what Dhill Dragons learned right there. I mean, however, like you said, no ultimates invested there. That's a huge kind of win there for Midori. Allows them to build up to their other 2 ultimates, put them in a really, really good spot. Hypno, though, just kind of, you know, lagging behind on the nano, which is really what you expect to see a lot of times from Ana, especially when fights happen like what we saw today. But Triplet investing early.
Yeah, B gonna be used here to keep everybody sustained right here. I don't know if I like it. In fact, Blade is being used as well in this scenario by Zach and Natakado. Not finding a whole lot on either side, but eventually, if you find something, Hero does manage to get rid of 1. Seaborn still hanging around. Unfortunately, this does seem to be solidified at this point, you know, for our lovely Dhill Dragons, as they'll be able to clear things out, take another fight, but overall, a relatively expensive one.
Yeah, it's expensive, but you needed it there. You really cannot afford to have it installed. You did get a couple ultimates off on the other side, but if you're Midori, you're still walking this next engagement with 3 of your own. The Nano, though, I feel like it's going to make a big difference here for Hypno, especially depending on who they give it to. They gave it to Dreepy last time. If it goes on the Ronin, I mean, a dive into that backline, it would be very, very scary for any of that support for Midori.
Yeah, because you don't really have the Blade to work with right now, but Natakado is super low right now. They're going to go in. Nano is still going to be invested. I don't like the decision at all. In fact, it's the Boostio of all things, ladies and gentlemen, and that Boostio, unfortunately, is not the 1v5 machine that we're hoping it is, as that is a catastrophic fight, unfortunately. Not swap.
A little bit of a misclick. You don't ever truly want to give your Lucio the Nano unless you're really winning a map. And look at that. Already some swaps coming out. How's your day going over to the Brig? And now we're just seeing almost a mirror. How's your day, though? Second guessing that. Going back over to the Lucio here. But Hypno going over to the Juno. I like this a little bit more here. However, minute 25, you're walking into 2 ultimates on the other side, not far away from the 3rd. And the only thing you're about to have here is your own downpour, which, I mean, did win you a team fight last time, but you really need to try to win a dry team fight here. Maybe even force that bomb out from Hero.
Yeah, Hero does that get out of jail free card. It's going to go in super deep, knowing that they have it right here, trying to headhunt Hypno. Unfortunately, not going to happen yet. Below shot is available. Cave managed to get rid of Ronin, which means this fight is just going to be so hard to pull back right here. You don't have any ultimates to even invest anyway, so they're going to have to back out. Another fight down the drain, and now, I mean, these looking very difficult here for Dhill Dragons.
Yeah, it is here. You're only going to have the downpour. How's your day finally committing over here to the Brig. And again, you see just Midori playing up, playing aggressively, and that's been something that's been working out for them all series long. If you're Dhill Dragons, though, I mean, finding out someone here early on, it would really help you a lot. Every time we've seen them find the first pick, Midori has normally backed up. They just need space here at the moment. But this is final fight territory, no matter what, Hunter.
Yeah, and looking at back-to-back fights, 100%. Hero is just kind of literally just peeking, waiting for somebody to go up to that high ground so they can simply dive them. Because again, Hero has a get-out-of-jail-free card, and considering who's on here, you're gonna have to back out and just kind of respect it. You're gonna go through with the rally as well, gonna push them back further and further. They're gonna keep getting pushed back. Blade gonna be used here as well. They're gonna try to end this thing right here and now. You do see a touch over on the point right now is Ronin, desperately trying to block to survive as long as they possibly can right here, getting plenty of care. Unfortunately, it's essentially like a 4v2 in the corner as people are gonna pull back here, and unfortunately, Dex, I think this might be as far as they go.
Kyle trying to do their best here to buy some time for their team. Bolo coming out there from Drippy, but I don't think we're going to see another touch. No, Drippy actually gets there, and I mean, it's still not necessarily going to add anything to their cart progression here. And the second point push on King's Row is always very difficult, but it always just seemed like Midori, and especially once they made the swap over to the Diva, was just able to find so much value. I really didn't expect them to. I really did think that the Hazard would be able to win out in a lot more of the situations, but I mean, it was just Hero playing an excellent tank there. It really was. I mean, if you're Dhill Dragons at this point, you're kind of looking at having to hold on first point. I think once Midori gets going here on this cart push, it becomes incredibly difficult for Dhill Dragons to get going, and that's been something we've highlighted throughout this entire series with momentum. I mean, Midori, once they get it, they never really go back from it or let it go here. And I mean, I'm gonna bring up something that, you know, our friend Headrammer talks about. He has talked about this first point of King's Row basically being a myth. It's there in principle, but it's not really there. It's something that the attacking teams find very easily because, I mean, to be fair, it is one of the closer spawns for the attacking teams. All they have to do is just wait for ultimates to kind of build up, and they should be able to win a fight.
Yeah, it really is that simple. In fact, this is what we see when teams are in the scenario where it's like, hey, we only need to capture the first, you know, like, tick. You, at that point, you go into these fights and you eventually just build up to the point where the off bank is so despairing that there's nothing your opponent really can do in the situation right here. But Midori, I think they're the kind of team that's going to try to go in right out the gate here with all-out aggression and see if they can just take this thing right off the rip.
I would not be mad with the Winston pick here, actually.
Just for the bubble.
I really wouldn't. No, I like that. I like that actually play the Sim TP out so that Cabe could get a little bit better of a shot there, a little bit better angles. That would have been a really fun play to see it work out, but not going to work out there. Going right back over to the Freya, which is exactly what they probably need to be doing. But you already see Zach and Hero harassing Hypno and Dreepy.
Yeah, Hypno is just getting chased down. It's causing Dreepy and Ronin to get separated away from the heals. Already going to lose one. I mean, Ronin's just going to have to try to back out and live, and you're probably going to have to sacrifice 2 ticks here just to do a regroup.
Yeah, and this is not how this needed to start for Dhill Dragons right now. Midori really understanding what their win conditions are in a lot of these fights, getting rid of people early on. You're going to see a touch come back out here, but I mean,
right?
If you're Dhill Dragons, I feel like you're kind of just walking into your own grave if you touch at all.
They literally do not decide to touch, which is potentially going to be a grievous error, because some teams might pull back to try to, you know, hold on to the archway, but unfortunately, Nadokado is gone. Ronin might not be too far behind. How's your day running for the life? Unfortunately, not going to retain it, and now, I mean, things not looking in a good way for Dhill Dragons.
Really not. I mean, you're going to lose Hypno. You're probably going to lose Creepy out here as well. Ronin is looking a little bit worse for wear. You're going to be able to dive back, but you only have the healing of your Lucio. And, I mean, this is worst case scenario for the Dhill Dragons. If you're going to make a swap here, now is the time. Drippy going back over to the Cassie here. Remember, I said that they probably played their best so far this series on the Cassie, back on first point of Oasis, but Ronin not making a swap here. You have a Nano ready to go here, and you are going to honestly need that here. Probably just get out of your own spot, it looks like.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's going to take a miracle at this point to pull this one back. 4.5 minutes on the clock, less than 20 meters still to go. It's just going to take one person going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time to end this thing right now. As again, this time, no choice in trying to touch the cart. You got to get there. You got to let it happen. Bomb is ready to go as we do see the Nano comes out. Natakano, though, does not have a blade quite yet. Zach is hoping to finish things out, though. Get a 3K. Bolo shot through as How's Your Day going to be the last remaining member. And it is a dominant end here for Midori, earning this win, moving up to 4-2. And, I mean, my God, Dex, I mean, capitalizing that level of dominance here on this last map.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a one-sided affair. I mean, Dhill Dragons had their opportunities, but Midori just was able to stop them. And I mean, going over to the D.Va seemed to be the right thing for them on this map. And like I said, I thought that was a little bit of a questionable swap. I thought it was only going to be for a potential touch on the first point, but no, they stuck with it. And Dhill Dragons, they really didn't have a good response for it. I mean, this is a game and a series you're going to have to go back for if you're Dhill Dragons and kind of look over and just see what kind of beat you here, because it seemed like it was a lot, whether it was Cabe playing an excellent Freya, or it was, I mean, I think Triplet did an incredible job as well playing the Brig. And that was one thing I was happy to see Dhill Dragons eventually pick up there towards the end of their attacking round. But I mean, I think both times we saw the Brig come out from Dhill Dragons, it was just a little bit too late for them to find truly any value with it. Midori, though, like I said, dropping the last two series after starting 3-0, they are starting to pick up the pace again. They want to remind everyone they are probably one of the better teams here in this tier as week 3 ends.
Yeah, and you go in having that momentum of getting a big 3-0 win like that, and hey, it's a scenario where you're definitely going to want it. I mean, their opponents for next week are going to be Tanuki and Reagan, respectively, right here. So especially the Tanuki squad, you want to go in with a lot of momentum. On the other side of things right here, as, well, I have to go and loop all the way through because FaceIt League has a funny little glitch where if you click on a team's thing, you can't back out.
I'll tell you. Next week for Dhill Dragons, they are playing Iliad Helios and Uni Academy. Two tough games. Iliad Helios, I know, hasn't had the best start to the season, but they are definitely looking to bounce back. And you really cannot sleep on any team in this Masters tier. And Uni Academy, I mean, again, another one of those teams I believe is kind of sitting around the same area of these two teams were in the standings. You cannot really sleep on any of these coming up teams. I mean, Uni Academy is doing very, very good at the moment here. Yeah, they were also in this in the teams ranked 2 through 10.
Yeah, they still got a match that they have to take care of here, which I believe is it's happening on Sunday between them and Extinction Zero, which Extinction Zero also would want a good win right there because they're hanging around the exact same area as them right now. They want to get into that 4-2 area just like teams like Dreamland, like Midori, who kind of want to be standing up in that top area because, again, playoff selection, it is going to be limited. Not every team's going to get through the situation. I would have to double check what it is. I believe that it is. I don't want to give false information.
Don't take a guess. Yeah, don't take a guess at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull information.
Don't remember it, but I mean, right now, I mean, after next week, you're halfway through your season, and you're gonna really start to see teams either turn on or just kind of understand where they are and just try to play a little bit of spoiler here. Again, you cannot sleep on any of the teams, but you want to be in probably the top half of these 18 teams or 16, 16 teams in this tier. So still a lot of games to be played here for both these teams. If you're Dhill Dragons, you're really looking to bounce back next week. And I think Iliad Helios, they've yet to find their first win of the season. That might be a really good bounce back opportunity for them, but you cannot take them lightly. And Uni Academy, like we said, another one of those teams that was coming into the day in between the 2 and the 10th teams here in the standings wise. So a really tough week next week for them. Yeah. A really tough week next week for Midori as well. I mean, they play Regen, who was one of the only other undefeated teams left in the season. And you said do they play regular Tanuki or Tanuki Tempur?
Just regular Tanuki, so that could potentially be an easier game for them.
That could be a potentially easier game, but again, like I've been saying, you can't really sleep on any of the teams here. I mean, yeah, Tanuki's sitting down in 14th at the moment, but still, they could surprise people. Anyone could surprise anyone here. But right now, Hunter, let's just focus back in on this series. Midori, what an incredible series for them here. I mean, all the way through, it just seemed like they knew exactly what they wanted to do.
Yeah, and that kind of comes with having a squad right here where, I mean, even just playing together for a few weeks, scrimming and playing as much as they have, you get to grow a lot in that situation right here. And some teams are more comfortable either playing slower or playing faster. Or, I think even in the world we live in, a 2025 of Overwatch 2, I think playing slow does have a lot of benefits to it, especially if you know exactly how you're supposed to peel, how you're supposed to pull back, how you're supposed to manage whatever level of aggression you want to bring here. But Midori is clearly one of those teams that wants to go all out with the aggression, where if they smell blood in the water, they're going to pounce on it. They're going to go for it. And if you're able to execute that very effectively, I mean, that's something that is really difficult to break through, and I think that's why they've been able to beat the teams they have up to this point. And I think when they go up against those tough teams like Regan, like Alternate, they're going to be able to bring that aggression that way, and that's something that's going to be able to really help move them forward right here, because this is one of the biggest reasons why this team is in the top 8, and honestly, in my opinion, should probably be one of those teams that stays in the top 8.
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing you said there, the aggressiveness coming out from Midori here was definitely a big difference maker in this series. Dhill Dragons, they just struggled against it. You go back to Circle Royale, I mean, you had Midori almost touching spawn door twice, and then they eventually did touch it in the waning moments of that map. And then here on King's Row, I mean, they played D.Va to play a little bit more of an aggressive play style on defense, and it ended up working out. Dhill Dragons, they just didn't seem to have a good or be comfortable with that aggressive play style. So that's something that maybe Dhill Dragons need to work on. But if you're Midori, hey, excellent series here for them. I mean, I'm looking right now at the stats for the last map. Seaborn playing that Brig had more eliminations than Cave on the Freya. I mean, they were doing a lot for their team there. I mean, everyone on Midori played an excellent map there, and an excellent series. So a great, and congratulations to them there. I mean, this is exactly what they needed to kind of bounce back here after dropping their last 2 series.
Nah, that's exactly what you mean. You don't want to go, 3 losses back to back to back like that. So, getting a dominant win obviously is going to mean a lot at the end of the day. You get some momentum, get some confidence right back on your side. So, obviously, we'll have to see if that works up going against another top team like Regen. But, obviously, that's for a different date in the situation right here, as other games finishing out today as well. But at least for tonight, that's going to do it for here. And I imagine for the rest of the week, that'll probably also do us, unless we gain some sudden inspiration. We wake up in the morning. It's like, Dex, 6 a.m., Oceania game. We roll.
No.
Hey, I tried it once, and then it ended up being a forfeit, and I'm really happy I decided to sleep in instead. Oh.
You never know, but Hunter, let's get going.
Yeah, well,
maybe we'll potentially right. I believe Bullskunk's doing game unless that one's over.
I could double check right now. Ewan's doing In Control and Iliad Artemis right now, and that's 2-1 currently.
Ooh.
And then
you have some options here, but Hunter, how about you sign us off, man?
Yeah, it's time. I'm gonna make this one a quick one. I'm not doing my usual spiel. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for being entertained by the games that we do. We'll come back next week for some North America, South America action, but for the time being, thank you very much. We'll see you later. Have yourselves a fantastic night.